me on Decent Cities is the newly minted Chief Operating Officer of Blockster, Gabby Pelicci. Welcome.
Thanks, Joe. I'm happy to be here.
To see you. So we connected at the Blockchain 2022 down in Miami, and at the Reblock Summit that our friend Chris Kremitzos put on. How was your week in Miami?
I didn't sleep for 7 days. We were at Reblock. We were at Bitcoin Unleashed. I gave a talk at Shitcoin. We were at Crypto World Con. We were at Miami NFT Week. I mean, it was back to back to back to back. And then I just crashed on the weekend and stayed in bed and tried to recover.
Well, I'm glad you dragged yourself out to join us today. It was a big week. And Blockster, Blockster is a really cool company. It's trying to do a lot. It's building community. It's aggregating information. It's creating information, and because of that, you actually have legitimate reason to be at all those things. For Blockster, give us the sort of 101 on Blockster and why it's great.
Yeah, our mission is to be the gateway to crypto for people that are curious and they don't necessarily understand the industry or the jargon. We're really trying to make things simple and accessible for them. So when you come to the website, there's news and stories, and we try to keep that focused on the lifestyle, meaning who are the people, the major players, and what are they doing, and informing readers and our audience about what projects are trending and, what deals are happening. So that's our mission as a company. And we're also a startup. We're fundraising and we're building and growing. And we initially had most of our team in the Ukraine. And then obviously with everything that's happening there, we've had to rebuild a lot of the team in the US. And with that comes new vision and new ideas. And so we have some secret things that we're going to be launching this summer that I'm really excited about. Maybe we can talk again in a few months when that's happening. But we threw a massive event, last week. We had a huge party and we had a documentary crew there come in from TradeStation to record some of the things that we're doing. And we really just want to be a home for people that need that, place to get some good information, some trusted information, to connect with people in the crypto community and to, have some fun. We're like, Blockster's all about having, I was wearing roller skates at the party on Friday night. We just want it to be fun and accessible and, inclusive for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And fun seems like a good common denominator, because crypto is a strange beast in that it really covers a lot of different areas. You have the real, the finance geeks are deep into trading and the financials behind coins. You have obviously a lot of innovators on the art side of things. And then in the middle, there's a lot of people trying to build utility and using blockchain for things like supply chain and tracing avocados flying across the world. So, besides fun, so how do you sort of distill that all up into one vibe that you could put forth on Blockster?
Well, vibe's the perfect word, actually. Vibe's the perfect word. Like, we try to spotlight the most compelling people and projects because there is so much happening, right? I wouldn't have been at 10 conferences in a row, listening to hundreds of speakers, meeting thousands of people if there wasn't so much happening. And you can't, keep track of all the things are happening, but like by verifying certain projects, by spotlighting the ones that are the most interesting, by following the influencers and industry leaders and their journeys and what they're creating, I think it gives us kind of an anchor in that sea of information that really like differentiates us from a Blockworks or a CoinDesk or something like that, right? It's a place that you can come and really start to recognize faces and brands and become more familiar, more comfortable in the space.
Yeah. And beyond just the content, you have a vehicle for people to actually put their roots down, have a profile, express themselves, and become part of the community. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. You can create a profile or a project page on the site. It's a place that it avoids the crypto ban. So there's something called a crypto ban on a lot of social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, sometimes Twitter, where if you're promoting cryptocurrency projects, you might get flagged, you might get blocked, you might get, prevented, inhibited from sharing your information. And we wanted to create a free speech space where you could put out that information. And we do check all the projects. We don't check all the people because the people are, the enthusiasts and investors and things. But if a project creates a page, we make sure that the project is legit. But it's just a place where you can just have freedom of expression to, share what you're working on or connect with other people that are working on things. Community is really important to us, but also in real life community, right? That's why we did the party, because we want to create a sense of belonging. We want you to feel like you belong. And we're targeting, advertisers that are mainstream advertisers, like Gucci doing a tracksuit in the metaverse, or, some celebrity DJ launching music NFTs. We want, you to feel that sense of belonging and community and music and fashion, and be able to kind of explore what's happening. The world is transforming. You and I were at the real estate event, right? And we were listening to speakers talking about all the real estate in the metaverse, and just the revolutionary change we're seeing in cities, in real estate, in fashion, in finance. It's just so mind-blowing sometimes, right?
Yeah, and yet we still have crypto bans, which is the funniest thing. We look back in a couple of years from now, it'll just seem kind of funny.
Yeah.
And you've even ventured, as new projects are wont to do, into a coin with BXR. Can you talk a little bit about the sort of purpose behind that and where that's going?
Yeah. So our founder, he founded BXR, and that was even before we started Blockster. Okay. And so we're building, like many Web3 businesses, tokenomics and ways to create incentives and rewards for people in the community. We haven't launched a lot of that yet. Obviously we have the BXR token, but in terms of really integrating it, we're not there yet. But I love the fact that we're innovating as we go. There's this saying in startup culture, build the plane on the way down, which is, it's a very Blockster culture. We're just building the plane on the way down as people ask for things, or as we notice different, trends or demands. We're trying to adapt to those things. So.
And you talk about being sort of an on-ramp, a get to know crypto place, and that is very apropos for you personally, because you've been doing a lot of coaching and teaching in that space. So, being on the front lines and introducing crypto, or giving people keeping people have heard of it, giving them their first sort of few steps down the path. What are some of the common themes of misunderstandings or excitement, or what's sort of the most noteworthy trends you see in people getting to know crypto?
Mass confusion is the main theme. It's so ironic that I'm teaching cryptocurrency, because I have a PhD in holistic medicine, and I have been a professor of holistic medicine for 18 years. I was a massage therapist, a yoga teacher. I was on a totally different life path. And then during the pandemic, I took a sabbatical and I was doing humanitarian work in Puerto Rico, Guatemala, Dominican Republic. I was living on farms and doing permaculture. I was, harvesting plants, and I was feeding goats. It was a departure, let's say, from my professional life. And I discovered that a lot of the projects were using tokenomics for fundraising. They were creating a coin. They were promoting that coin on social media. It had global reach, borderless payment, and they were able to generate revenue for the things they were doing, and also create a local economy and currency for people who are in financial systems that are really broken. We're kind of privileged in the US. We don't recognize how many governmental, national, centralized financial systems are broken. But we're finding that other countries, less developed countries, are quicker to adapt cryptocurrency because the system they have isn't working. So I became introduced in that way. And then I came home a few months ago, actually, not very long ago. And because I'm a teacher and I'm obsessed with sharing what I learn, I started blogging about this. And then I opened up to my community a free Zoom call twice a month to share what I was learning. And to my surprise, 75 people showed up on the Zoom call and they're like, what's cryptocurrency? Like, why is everyone talking about cryptocurrency? And what do I need to know? And like, what's going on? And the first couple calls were like me just explaining what a wallet was and helping people download it on their phone. Like that's it. Like, this is a wallet. Go to the app store, download it on your phone. Now you have a wallet. Like, that was like literally, class one. And then, gradually over the last couple of months, I've moved on to explaining blockchain, DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, DeFi, decentralized finance. I've graduated to kind of giving them more context, but we definitely did the basics and we were all learning as we went along. And I really feel like educators are going to be doing this work for the next decade. Like, only about, I think it's 1% of the population or something is onboarded to crypto currently. Like, this is going to be a lot of heavy lifting, a big learning curve for billions of people. And we're going to need a lot of people to step up and to teach people the basics and how to recognize and avoid scams. There's that was one thing that was a very popular theme in the NFT conferences, was how easy it is to scam people when you're minting NFTs. I mean, it's just so easy. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
It's interesting. I have a few thoughts. There's a lot there. I don't love that they're called cryptocurrencies. I think they're assets. There's so many different things, and then you call them all one thing. And people think it's trying to compete with the dollar and be a true transactional currency. And then they say Dogecoin and Bitcoin, and then a really utilitarian project are all kind of the same thing because they're all called the same thing, yet they're all very different. And also, I think it's interesting that. In not many areas of technology do we expected people to get so into the weeds as to what it is. When we look at when the internet came around, we weren't explaining what TCP/IP and DNS were, right, to people like we're trying to explain blockchain now. So it's like we led with, hey, you can send a free letter to anybody in the world anytime you want, and that's what you do with it. How it works is not as relevant, but yet I feel like crypto people sometimes lead with the hardest stuff to understand, maybe because you kind of need to protect from scams and things like that.
It's an emotional category. We think that the stock markets fluctuate because of revenue. They don't fluctuate because of revenue. They fluctuate because of human emotions. That's why they fluctuate. It's our trust or lack of trust. It's our fear or excitement that controls the expansion and contraction of finance. And I'm not surprised that there's a difference between sending a free letter and putting your money into an app and having no idea. It's just ones and zeros on an app on your phone, and that's your money, right? It's like your retirement, your college fund, and so I do think that the emotion is a barrier to entry, and establishing more trust is critical because even though we know the current systems are flawed, and even though we know that there's controversy and corruption, we've still been conditioned to have a lot of trust in the Federal Reserve and centralized banks. And we've still been conditioned to really trust. And so that's what we're talking about, I think, here is that emotional sense of safety and comfort, as well as just the education about how to do it.
Yeah, and to your point, that is a good point because it is a level of self-responsibility now. Not your keys, not your coin, that you didn't have with when you could call the credit card company and say, hey, I didn't really charge this, or someone stole my credit card, and you were completely protected. Those protections are not there in crypto. And so to your, I think it's a fair point that, you need to have that level of comfort and expertise and trust about the process and the technology, because you actually have the responsibility.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Do you have wallets? What are you doing with your crypto? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I like to spread the, hide the nuts in lots of places kind of thing. So I have about a dozen wallets, and I keep some amount in each one, and for different purposes and tied to different. We're fundraising as well, and some of my investors have invested in stable coins. So I have those in one, and then I love working in a lot of projects, or participating in a lot of projects like Handshake is one of my favorite, which is a new domain name system, so that you can actually have your own TLDs. So instead of a .com, you could have .gabby or whatever, and then you can do whatever you want with what's in front of it. So my project MetaCity, will have a city. Every city will have one, and so instead of having to chase St. Pete metacity.com and Orlando metacity.com, I can just have .metacity and put St. Pete .metacity or Orlando .metacity, and then have that sort of that functionality. And with this system, it's actually, you don't even really have to have a dot. It could just be MetaCity, and you can actually use emojis and things like that as well. So it opens up the world to a whole new realm of creativity and domain names and branding and things like that. So that's one of my favorite projects right now.
That's excellent. Yeah, I just love learning about these. We had a premium press booth set up at the Bitcoin conference, and we did about 50 interviews over the course of 3 days. So we got to speak to a lot of founders and CEOs and startups and the whole gamut. And some of the stuff that came through, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, there's one group that came through that does crypto mortgages now. They don't actually spend your crypto. They hold your crypto mortgage for you. So you have the crypto as an asset and the mortgage as an asset. And then when that's paid off, you get the crypto back. So just so many interesting, innovative things that we discovered, during this time.
And how do you feel the state of investing in, I know Blockster's raising, I'm raising, and you saw always a lot of companies. There's a lot of crypto wealth out there that's created from folks who bought early. Do you feel like more projects are getting funded than should, or less, or what's sort of the state of things from what you've seen?
Yeah, all the things. I think that there's more money than there are projects. At every event that I went to, there was investors just kind of like begging people to take their money. There was one guy from Stacks. I don't know if you know Stacks Foundation, but he was on the stage at Bitcoin Unleashed, and he was like, I dream of writing checks. Somebody take my money. So I think that there's more money even than there are things to be funded. And we see that with the DAO Match too. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's a website that matches DAO granting with projects. So there's no shortage of money. That being said, I think that a lot of the stuff that's being funded is going to fail, probably like 80% of it.
That's not abnormal, right? That's normal stats for regular startups. And even if you look back at the internet boom, right? A lot of stuff went down, a lot of stuff got overvalued, but some champs came out of it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now that you've made this transformation from, I love the feeding goats and changing lives, to being the operations officer of a Blockster.
Yeah.
Talk about your personal journey from the last few months to what you see happening in the next year.
I don't even know what happened. So I'm on this magic carpet ride currently, and I'm just trying to hold on to the carpet. That's what's happening. Yeah. So I started leading those community calls. I got recognized by a recruiter on LinkedIn, and he reached out to me and he was like, Gabby, we need someone to do communications at Blockster. I'm like, what's Blockster? I went and I met the founders. It felt like a really good fit. I started working for them. 2 weeks later, they're like, can you be the director of communications? I'm like, sure. 2 weeks later, they're like, can you be the chief operating officer? I'm like, okay. So it's been a roller coaster, but fueled by joy. That's the main emotion that I feel in all of these Reblock, NFT week, this conversation with you, being at Blockster, everyone is so enthusiastic. I've been in healthcare for 2 decades, and I've never, ever been in a room with so much enthusiasm and optimism and creativity and innovation. And I mean, I'm just incredibly impressed by the culture of surrounding cryptocurrency and blockchain. And so I'm in it for as long as Blockster will have me and the community will have me. I just think that there's so much opportunity and it's just so fun, which is really like what work should be. You know, we're doing work for the majority of our lives. If we're not enjoying it, like what's the point really, you know?
That's right. And that's the beautiful paradigm shift in blockchain is it makes a lot of those large, trusted banks and governments and all that stuff. It just breaks it apart and lets everybody play with that. And that gives everybody personal freedom, personal opportunity, and they can operate and create at an individual and small group level in a way that was reserved for large institutions historically. And that is something to be excited about.
Yeah, you can feel the freedom. You can feel the kind of release, right? Of kind of breaking those chains and those constraints and like building something. We haven't had any disruption or innovation in the financial industry in 500 years. I wrote an article about this recently for Blockster. And when we had the Renaissance 500 years ago, that's when we set up the systems that we have now of centralized banking, accounting ledgers, all of that. And nothing has changed since we had that Renaissance. And this just feels like the 21st century Renaissance to me and targeting, finance. And what I think is ironic is that the artists that emerged at that time were prominent in the Renaissance, the Da Vinci's, Michelangelo's, right? And now we're seeing the NFT artists and the musicians of the metaverse, that they're also the ones like drawing in and creating that excitement for this new transformation.
And with all of that, opportunity is to get it from the minds of the few out into the world. It takes orgs like Blockster and people like you to do that. They call that crossing the chasm, and so that the full goodness of it and can be enjoyed and it can take over the world. So.
Yeah, and your meta cities. I mean, you're getting them in city by city. That's like perfect.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. I know you said you had some big projects coming up. I hope you'll swing back by and we can catch up again in a little bit and talk about the new projects. And congrats for all you deserve it all. And you're like a prism. The good's coming in and spreading out tenfold out to what you're doing. And I felt the energy last week and now, and it's a good thing for blockchain and for Blockster.
Yeah, Joe, it was so nice to meet you and connect with you. And I really appreciate this time. And yeah, I look forward to giving you more updates as we evolve.
We'll be here. Gabrielle Pelicci, thanks for joining us on Decent Cities.